Hi guys, welcome to vlog 3 of season 2 of Wild Vlogs. You find me on a very fresh day today, a day full of sunshine, showers and quite high winds in a hide, as you can see. I'm caught in this gloom of the hide here. I'm still at Ladywalk Reserve. This is the famous high day of Ladywalk Reserve, and I'm here because, if you remember from vlog 1, I'm working on a commission called On a Tree by a River, and this commission is based upon following the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, the Tame Valley Wetlands, the RSPB, the West Midlands Bird Club, the guys that own this particular reserve, in their efforts to conserve and expand a small population of Willow Tit. They have 3 territories here, they believe, of Willow Tit. They certainly had three broods that fledged last year. So that's a maximum probably of 6 to 8 birds within quite a big reserve. So not many birds per se on this reserve. And for those that don't know, actually, the Willow Tit is Britain's most endangered resident bird. There's been a catastrophic decline since the 1950s, and sadly that rate has only increased as we've gone through time. So it's a really tragic situation, but obviously you'll understand that if I'm working on a commission that's based, well, it's featured on the Willow Tit, that's the featured species, I'm going to need some footage of Willow Tit. Now thankfully this project has started in winter time, and that's the one time where you're more likely to catch these birds. Remember, such a very small population here for such a very big reserve, about 6 to 8 birds, but it's the one time you're likely to see them come out of their woodlands, their damp woodland homes, and access feeding stations like this. Now thankfully Hyde A and its sister Hyde B, about 300 yards that way, have feeding stations. Between the two of them, this is the best place to find willow tits. So it started a few weeks ago. This is actually my 3rd attempt now to film them, and throughout the 3 attempts I'm countering different problems I faced. Now initially I'll tackle the problem that was obvious, and that was whenever I was going to be in a hide such as this, an elevated wooden hide, there was going to be the problem of shooting from elevation. You don't really want shots from above on a bird. They're quite unattractive shots, 45 degrees up here. And also the fact that, if you'll know from vlogs from season 2, the dreaded wooden hide syndrome for me. I stick any tripod in here, especially at any kind of telephoto range. If anybody moves, simply lifts their feet even, the whole frame of the hide shakes, and that obviously is reflected massively in any footage I get, and sides of the world always seems to be at the crucial moments that happens. So those are 2 issues I faced initially. During trial 1 and 2, I countered them by managed to find very quiet times when I was here on my own. In fact, on my initial recce, I was lucky enough to find that the willow tits were coming to a table just down here next to some blackthorn and bramble scrub, and they were accessing the table, and at the time the table had a white cage on it, and this cage, I believe, was put there to see off the voracious appetites of the resident pheasants, of which there are quite a few around here. So the bird was doing, as I expect all tits to do, and anybody familiar with feeding stations and the activity of tits, or the habits of tits, will know, was doing a tit takeaway, is what I call it. These birds, the tit family, are not designed to eat seeds per se in an open area, because they're likely to be predated. They're not built to eat seeds, so they need to take the seed away, find some safe confine, because they need to put all their efforts and pretty much most of their senses into concentrating on accessing that seed, dehusking it. You'll notice that when a tit does this, it holds it between its 2 feet, and it's concentrating fully on dehusking the seed, quite unlike finches, which of course will take seeds on a feeder and happily look around, checking for any dangers, whilst they're rolling the seed and dehusking it and consuming it. They are inherently seed eaters, but not for tits. So you'll find that the tits do these tit takeaway, which is out from cover, grab a seed or a nut, and then back to cover, find a safe place to consume it. That's what this bird was doing. Quite unsatisfactory. Although pleased to find I was getting willow tit, and that was a huge relief initially. As you can imagine, I was coming in pretty much blind to the situation. But the 2 points of note from that first time was that it was using, or tending to use, this particular piece of scrub, this blackthorn and bramble scrub, which hopefully I was going to use that information later on. Second time in, I decided that I would take that cage away, just briefly, so that if the bird was accessing the table again, at least I would have him accessing, or her accessing, the table without the cage getting in the way, which is quite distracting, of course, for any shot. And that was also pretty successful too. In fact, the shot, or one of the shots I got from there, the bird that came in and landed turned and faced towards the hide where I was filming, and sat motionless. Don't know why he did it, for about 1.5 seconds, which was pretty much, an unseen thing up to that point, but it did it for me on that table, and that was a key shot for me. I actually used that in the title sequence for the vlogs that I'm making for the commission. So that was a great moment, and that was in my attempt 2 here from hide A. Now, also at that period, I decided I was going to use the scrub, and I decided to use a branch that I found on the floor that had a groove on it, and I loaded that with sunflower seeds and a bit of other mix, and I inserted it as much as I can in a very secure position to the positions where in this blackthorn bramble where the birds were coming in to access the table. So hopefully then they would have something initially to feed upon, hopefully feeling as if they were in a secure environment within the bramble, also in a position where I could have clear access here to film from my angle, from the trajectory here, from my perspective here, down to that branch. And so the bird may stay to consume whatever it was taking, the sunflower seed or similar, and give me shots of 10, 15 seconds, which ultimately is what I'm looking for. It worked. A couple of times the bird came in. This is after, I must say, I hasten to add 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours wait for this to happen. It came in and I get a wonderful shot of the bird moving along the branch, taking the seed, hopping to and fro, and it afforded me a second sequence that I could use. So both from trial 2 here, I had the bird table sequence and I had this little branch sequence, which is great, and it served me perfectly well through the first vlog that I made for On a Tree by a River. So for the third attempt, what I really wanted to tackle was filming at elevation. As much as the 2 previous shots from the second attempt looked reasonable, maybe they weren't shot from such a high elevation at 45 degrees, which I myself was quite surprised about. But I still wanted the ability to get some really close crop shots of the willow tit, some very personal shots of the willow tit, and certainly at its level. I didn't want any elevation anymore, so that meant obviously removing myself, or at least the camera, crucially, from the hide environment. And I've done this morning. This is exactly why I've come here. I've arrived early, I've baited the table, I've found my branch again with a groove in. Thankfully it's still here. Again, I've loaded it with a bit of mixed seed and a bit of black sunflower seed, and I've pushed it within the scrub. And then also, though, crucially, I've taken the SIII out of the hide, and I've come down to just down here next to me, pretty much next to the hide window, but about maybe 10 feet that way, and I've faced it through the scrub. I've got a beautiful little clear passageway visually through to the branch from behind the scrub here, and that's where I've left the SIII on its tripod, filming each file, 15 minutes per file at 4K, 30 frames a second, at which I'm looking at the time and I'm counting down each 15 minutes, then going back and pressing record again, while sitting up here, looking at the camera, watching the branch and seeing if I'm possibly getting any results. So I've just set up the camera now. I believe this is the first file, and we're about 6 minutes in, and I'm hoping that we're going to get some results. Now, since I've been sat here, I can't guarantee you that since I've been talking to you, something hasn't arrived. I don't think it has. It's still pretty much sat there unattended, the branch, which is perfectly reasonable. The table itself next to the scrub is getting quite a bit of attention, because obviously that's been there for quite a while. But I've found in the previous attempt, attempt 2, that it took them maybe up to half an hour, 3/4 of an hour to actually realise this branch exists, or at least has food on it. From that point onwards, of course, the birds then start to come in quite regularly. So we are, as I say, less than 10 minutes in for our first file. I'm not expecting any results so quickly. But we're here for the long haul. This is the great thing about using, obviously, the digital revolution for cameras, the fact that you can just use file after file after file, and just persevere and see it out, and hope that the setups, the common sense you've applied, and the setups that you've created are going to pull through for you. So fingers crossed, and we'll see how this goes. Well, as I thought, the first 15 minutes have been a no-show. So I've just popped downstairs and I've restarted the camera, adjusted it slightly. But that isn't a surprise. As I've previously said, it took me about half an hour, 45 minutes to locate it last time. I've got a great tit showing interest, and this could be key. I think as soon as one of the other species, not necessarily the willow tit, finds it and takes an interest, then we'll get more possible interest from the willow tit. So, onwards and upwards. It might be a waiting game, but with such a wonderful vista and an incredibly successful feeding station, there's always something to see. Oh, great tit coming in and gone again. Okay, great tit came in, actually definitely looked at the seeds. I'm not sure from this perspective, you'll know because you'll be seeing the actual footage, but I'm not sure from this perspective if he's taking anything, but that's a start. Let's restart the camera again. So just checking the perspective is held because there's quite a bit of wind around, and each time I'm refreshing the file I'm just checking that the camera is set as it should be, the focal range is right and it hasn't been disturbed in any way, and we're still okay. So going to start the new file again, another 15-minute file, and this of course is file 3, so we're half an hour in, heading for the 30-minute to 45-minute range. There we go, and continue to wait and cross our fingers. So as a filmmaker, this is where I kind of get a little bit nervous now. We've just been to the third file. We've only had one bird in the first 30 minutes. Look at it. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Oh, yes. And gone. Nice go. Coming back, coming back. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So we're about halfway, I guess. About halfway, I guess, in our third file, about nearly 7 minutes in, and just had the first willow tit in. And just came in briefly, checked it out, left, and then came back and took, I believe, took a sunflower seed. I'm conscious also of the frame I've created, the composition I've created within the SIII 82 down there. And that's another little bit of anxiety for me. Are these birds filling that frame? Where are they coming into the frame? Am I just getting a head or a tail? You know how it goes. But I think, well, at least it's a start. It's not exactly the shot I want, obviously. I want a more prolonged shot. But the willow tit now has axed the tit. It's a start. Halfway through our third file, about 37 minutes in. Lots and lots of great tit. Lots and lots of great tit. Great tit are dominating that branch. Oh, a blue tit. There's a change. Coming up to the end of the third file. No. I'm going to have to go down and restart the camera again. Come on, to run back and get a replacement battery for the SIII. Oh, Willow Tit, nice. Nice to see a new bird, Willow Tit. I know that one's perfectly free. Getting some superb Willow Tit. It seems they seem to come in phases. Each species finds it and then dominates it for a period. And yes. Oh, I'm gone. Second Willow Tit. Second only ever Willow Tit. It looked like he came from behind, from nowhere. I'm guessing this must be the bird from the foal woods. But he seemed to appear from nowhere, from behind the branch, and then just came over it and went. He's back. He's done the complete opposite. I'm worried because that's very much left of the seed, and if that's all the shots I get, I want the shots, and I'm thinking he might be out of frame, just maybe. You'll know this by now, but if he's in the frame, then he's very much to the left, isn't he? Like he might just be in. 3 appearances, and we're an hour and 10 minutes in, but none of them yet what I really want, and that is, of course, you've heard it many times before, the standard 10 to 15 second shot. Gonna have to, about 20 seconds left, gonna have to start the camera again. Ooh. It's just about 2 foot to the left of the branch right now for the Willow Tit. Yes. Perfect. Mid shot. Oh, great tit. Great tit. The best yet, though. That's the best yet. That's made me really happy. That's great, apart from the great tit. This is the thing with the Willow Tits, they are very small. Oh, back again. Okay, so where are we? 1 hour, 25 minutes since we've started, and I believe, I can't see how this can't be, just checking the camera hasn't fallen over, I can't see how this can't be the shark. So we had the Willow Tit come in from the right, and this is after being deposed by the great tit just a few seconds earlier. It's come back from the right, and it's made its way along the branch from the right, and it kind of paused around the seed area, which I know is pretty much centre frame in the SIII. And yeah, I mean, you will know by now, but as much as I can be sitting here and watching that through these, I can be sure as much as I can be that's the shot. And yeah, I'm ecstatic right now. I'm really pleased. So I'm going to call it. I'm probably going to stick around for a while yet, but with regard to this vlog 3, I'm going to call it there. Quit while you're ahead, as it were, and I'm going to say thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed this mini arduous journey I've just been on to try and crack Willow Tit. I hope you like the fact that we've come through the different stages, stage 1, 2, and then stage 3 today, and seen the little adjustments I've made as we've progressed. I'm thinking probably this is the last time I'm going to be able to film them here, because I'm guessing just about now, as you can hear, all the songs are starting around me. Spring is very much on the way, and these little guys will be accessing invertebrates more and more, and won't need to come to the feeding stations per se. So I think this is probably going to be the last time, or the last opportunity to have just done this. So I hope you enjoyed it. I have, even though I haven't seen the shots yet. I'm like, ooh. I have though, and please come join me next time. Well, we have something hopefully as equally as exciting as that. But in between now and then, please be safe and take care, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.